Shabbat Shalom. I welcome everyone this evening, and I'm just going to ask you first of all to please take a moment and silence your cell phone. And I'd like to direct your attention to some of the safety measures here we have at Temple Beth Israel. We have two exits on either side of the bima, exits on where you entered and on the opposite wall toward Town Avenue. There are two exits in the back of the social hall and two actually in the kitchen area. Fire extinguishers are located in the building. One is just where you entered the sanctuary over on the wall there, and the other is near the fountain. And near the fire extinguisher, near the fountain, there's also an AED unit. Safety cards can be found in the pockets in the back of the pews. And in the event that we need to leave the sanctuary and it is safe to do so, please meet in the southwest corner of the parking lot. So thank you for your attention and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for being with us in the sanctuary here in 3 dimensions or online. If you're with us online, thank you for being with us as well. Cantor Paul has been away for a week. He's been attending to his father in Buffalo, New York, with some health issues, but he will be back in town tomorrow and will be with us for Simchat Torah and for Havdalah tomorrow night at my house as well. So you get me tonight. So it's wonderful to be with you. We're going to start on page 24 in our Siddur. With Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Barchuni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Seitchem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon, mi melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Now I want to hear you. I'm going to sing quieter. Here we go. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I invite Laura Zuckerman, our president of our Board of Trustees, for a few words of welcome.
Shabbat Shalom. Lovely to see you all here and online. As some of you who know me, it will be a few more than a few words, but I'll do my best. So, during the High Holy Day season, but especially during Sukkot, we strive to experience and express gratitude to God and our lives and our bounty. How appropriate that our TBI tradition also has us express our gratitude to the many volunteers who bring passion, dedication, thought, and time to sustaining Temple Beth Israel, making it the place it is and the place we hope it to be in the future. We're deeply grateful to our staff who keeps the place running and to our clergy who provide the heart, history, and education of Judaism that we all need. But for everything else, our congregation shows up. For year-round committees and boards, the Board of Trustees, the TBI Foundation, Women of Temple Beth Israel, Brotherhood, Adult Jewish Learning, Team Tzedek, Gratitude Committee, Israel Committee, membership, fundraising, buildings and grounds, personnel practices, COVID-19 task force, security, grants, JCS, and TLCC. And other special groups that we all benefit from, like the High Holy Day ushers and speakers, the Challah planners and deliverers, the Come Dream With Us team, the Kehillah, the youth programs, the library, Friday night greeters, Oneg preparers, gets my breath, there's so many, the Judaica shop, the archives, office support, and much more. So this program tonight is inspired by and dedicated to you, our volunteers, who cheerfully perform all this work. Enjoy.
I invite Roz Kane to share a poem, set the mood for Sukkot.
The season of building. This is the season of building tents of holiness, shelters of peace in our land and in our hearts. This is the season of rejoicing in God's bounty and grace, for gifts yet to in the radiance and splendor in heaven and on earth. In this season of thanksgiving, of giving thanks for the gifts of the land, for gifts yet to come, as we delight in the wonders of creation. This is the season of building tabernacles of joy and gladness in our moments and in our days, in our homes and in our lives. This is the season that summons jubilation and exultation as we yearn for the great promise to be fulfilled. A world of harmony and love under one great sukkah, a sanctuary and wonder of awe for all nations and all peoples, men and women arrayed in the light of God's glory until the end of days.
Thanks, Roz. Just go over toward the candles and don't leave, because I'm going to invite everybody else to do it.
Okay.
I'd like to invite up to join Roz near the candles, Deborah Kummerman and Lauren Nemeth and Renee Marcus, who make up our gratitude committee. And when you get thank you notes and all those things for the things that you do, they're part of making all that happen. So I'm going to invite all of you to rise. And we're on page 2 in our Siddur. And I'll invite all of you to join me and the piano and Randy, and all of you to join as well as we kindle our Shabbat lights. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. You may be seated, and thank you to our gratitude team for making sure that we recognize all of those in our community who do so much to enrich the Jewish community and to strengthen Temple Beth Israel. We're going to turn now to pages 20 and 21. And as is our custom, before we enter into Lechadodi, we take a moment for Hazarat HaShavua, for a review of the week, to go back to last Shabbat, to take a pause on each day, to take a breath, to be present, and then we'll come back together and sing Lechadodi. We'll sing together verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. They're numbered to make your life easier. And when we get to verse 9, I invite you in the sanctuary to rise and face the doors from which we entered, to welcome the Shabbat presence, the Nishama Yetera, that extra soulfulness that travels with us during Shabbat, into this space and into our hearts. And for those of you at home, to turn toward the doors of your home to welcome the Shabbat spirit. Lechadodi. Lecha lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabala. La 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 lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'litchila la 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 lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor ha'beracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshavat chila la 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 lecha dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabala, lecha dodi likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabala. Hit oreri, kiva oreich, kumi uri, uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai alaich nigla la lecha dodi, likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabala, lecha dodi, likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabala. Rise if you're able, face the doors. Boi v'shalom, ateret ba'ala, gam besimcha uvtzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, la lecha dodi, likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabala, lecha dodi, likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabala, la lecha dodi, likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabala, lecha dodi, likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. We continue on page 26. Yitgadal v'yitgadal shemei Rabbah, b'almadi rach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyom echon, uv'chayei decho beit Yisrael, bagala, uvizman kariv, veimeru, amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam ulomei almaya, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dekudesha perichu, le'ela min kol birchata, v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma, be'imeru, amen. We continue on page 28 with Baruch Hu, our call to prayer. Yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. You can be seated. I invite Mikhail Shulman to come on up and help lead Ma'ariv Aravim on page 30.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim. Bechokma potech sharim, uvitfuna meshane itim, umachliv hazmanim, umesader et ha'kochavim. Bemishmortehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'ariv yom ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין חום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים.
We continue on page 34 and 35 with Shema Yisrael. I invite you to rise if you'd like. And I'd like to invite Mila to join us up here because she'll continue in just a moment after Shema with Ve'ahavta. So come on up, stand with me. Go ahead. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. You may be seated. We continue with Ve'ahavta, page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, וחיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך והיום על לבביך, בשבתך לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, ובטבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובפי שעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, הייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Thank you so much. You'll be back for all those who were up. Yeah, you go back down. We continue on page 40 with our Song of Freedom, Mi Chamocha. Yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yai die 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 die. Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar bakodesh norat hilot. Ose fele, malchutcha ra'u vanecha, bokeyam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, malchutcha ra'u vanecha, Bokeyam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Yada die 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 die. Yada die die die. Yada die 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 die. Yada die die die. Yada die 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 die. Yada die die die. Yada die 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 die. Zezeli hanu ve'ameru Adonai imloch leolam leolam va'ed. Yada die 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 die. Yada die die die. Yada die 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 die. Yada die die die. Yada die 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 die. Yada die die die. Yai die 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 die. V'ne'emar ki v'ad Adonai et Yaakov ugalo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch ata Adonai. Yada die 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 die. Yada die die die. Yada die 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 die. Yada die die die. Yada die 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 die. Yada die die die. Gal Yisrael. Amen. 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 We ask the Holy One to watch over us and to protect us. The imagery of Hashkivenu, all the more powerful during Sukkot, as we ask God to shelter us with God's sukkah of peace, Sukkat Shlomecha, that we lie down with a sense of wholeness, rise up with a sense of vigor, of purpose, of chayim, of real life, of living each day to its fullest, each and every day. Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom Vehamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom Vehamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Ufros aleinu Sukkat shlomecha Ushmor tzeitenu uvoenu. Ufros aleinu Sukkat shlomecha Ushmor tzeitenu uvoenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom Vehamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Baruch atah Adonai haporei Sukkat shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We give thanks for Shabbat. As I talked about Shabbat on Yom Kippur, the pause between the notes, the opportunity it gives us to connect with ourselves, with our community, with God. We give thanks by joining in Vishamru. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam, oti leolam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim et haaretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et hashabat lasot et hashabat lidorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. We turn to page 46 as we begin our Amidah. I invite Mila to rejoin me up here on the bima, and I invite everybody who's comfortable doing so to please rise.
Adonai sefatai titach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
Page 48.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Eloheinu avotinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'chocher Hasleavot v'imahot, U'megil Gulam Libnechem, Leman Shavo v'Ahava, Melech Choser Moshiach u'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham
Ezrat
Sarah.
Page 50.
Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechai hakol atah, Rav lehoshia, Morid hatah, Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechakei hakol berachamim ramim, Somech lofim verofeh holim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Micha mocha bal givurot, Umidol elah, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach leshuach, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol.
Page 52. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please continue silently with the text of your heart or the words of the prayer book through page 62, 63. When you're through, please be seated.
Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Well, the piece I'm going to play really has nothing to do with Judaism or this high holiday season. It's just a beautiful piece, and it is from the classical repertoire. And the reason I chose it is, and maybe some of you heard it before, it's very meditative and reflective and just very flowing and beautiful. So it fits this point in the service very nicely after the silent devotion. The composer is Sergei Rachmaninoff, and there is one parallel, however, with Jewish music. The composer scored the work for soprano and piano accompaniment and left the choice of, well, there's no words. So do you know of any other piece that we do that has no words in the Jewish liturgy? It's called a nigun. So unwillingly, Rachmaninoff was writing a kind of classical nigun, but had nothing to do with Judaism, of course. And I have drastically cut the piece in the interest of saving time, but this is Vocalese by Sergei Rachmaninoff.
By Renee Marcus to come on up and share a reading.
Let joy spread across your face, flash from your eyes, and beam from your lips. Let joy quiet your heart, soothe your lungs, relieve your chest. Let joy flow through your bones, awaken your nerves, caress your flesh. For joy is in the dawn and in the dusk, the silence and the great expanse, the flow of light from God's grace, divine wonder and awe, calling out to you, dear sisters and brothers. Awake, you slumberers. Awake, you who sleepwalk through hours and days, blind to hope and love. Have you forgotten Sarah's laugh and Miriam's song? Have you forsaken Jacob's dreams and Ezekiel's visions? Have you succumbed to fear and shame? This, then, is God's command. Let joy hold you, carry you, burst forth from your words and deeds. Let joy take you from season to season. Dance and sing, celebrate and rejoice, lifting your life with exultation. Let joy be your light and your lamp. Blessed are you, God of joy.
Sukkot and Simchat Torah are Zman Simchatenu, the time of our rejoicing, the time of our joy. And at those times, we also recite Hallel, which you will find on page 266 in your Siddur, in your prayer book. I'll start with the blessing at the top of the page, and then we'll move to the middle of the page in Psalm 118. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro et hahallel. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to recite hymns of praise. Hodu l'Adonai ki tov, ki le'olam chasto, ki le'olam chasto. Yomar na Yisrael, ki le'olam chasto, ki le'olam chasto. Yomru na Veit Aharon, ki le'olam chasto, ki le'olam chasto. Yomru na Yireh Adonai, ki le'olam chasto, ki le'olam chasto. Let all who revere God's name now say, ki le'olam chasto. Give thanks to God, for God is good. Ki le'olam chasto. Hodu l'Adonai. Hodu l'Adonai. Ki tov. Ki le'olam chasto. Ki le'olam chasto. Baruch haba b'shem Adonai, beirachnuchem mi beit Adonai, Eliata ve'odeka, Elohai aromemeka, Hodu l'Adonai ki tov, ki le'olam chasto, Hodu l'Adonai ki tov, ki le'olam chasto. By the way, those words, Hodu l'Adonai ki tov, ki le'olam chasto, also the words that we say as we shake the lulav in the various directions. And anybody after service will have maybe 10 minutes after we make blessings for Oneg. If anybody hasn't had the chance and would like to come out to the sukkah and shake the lulav, I'll be out there. The lulav will be out there, and you can do some shake, 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 shake the lulav. All right. So my parents spent Simchat Torah of 1976 in the Soviet Union. It was a time that the Jews of the USSR began to use the public hakafot, the dancing around with the Torah, as an opportunity to affirm and celebrate their Jewishness in public, even if they defined it in secular rather than Torah-centered ways. As the crowds dancing near the Moscow synagogue, each Simchat Torah grew. At the beginning, there were dozens and then hundreds, and then actually 10,000 Jews gathered in the street, and actually not only Jews, but others who were dissidents and others who would gather for Simchat Torah. And many of those Jews in the street would never enter the synagogue, but they were now saying at least once a year that they would not be invisible. My parents remember thousands singing Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel lives. Their gathering in the street was an act of defiance. We will identify with our people. We will continue to be Jews. My father did go into the synagogue and recalls that some of the melodies were the same that he grew up with in his traditional synagogue on the west side of Denver. He remembers thinking, if not for the decisions of his grandparents to come to America, he too at that time could have easily been living in the Soviet Union, in a place where many people, and especially Jews, were not free. And Soviet Jews understood that by dancing with Torah, they publicly identified themselves as part of a Jewish people, as part of a chain of Jewish life, connecting with Jews past, present, and future. So this Sunday night and Monday, we once again finish reading the Torah. And once again, we start from the beginning. This year begins my 24th cycle of Torah reading since I was ordained as a rabbi. For the 24th time, I have to come up with something to say about each of the weekly portions. People often ask me, how do you come up with something new and different each year? And truthfully, some weeks it's really not easy. And of course, there are ideas that are central to what I think and the way I understand Torah that come up over and over again, cycle back, but I approach them a little bit different each time because, as one of my favorite stories reminds us, there's a story about a boy who goes every day to the woods, and his mother says to him, why do you go to the woods every day? And he says, I go to the woods to talk to God. And his mother says, well, don't you know that God is the same everywhere? And he says, God may be the same everywhere, but I am different in the woods. And so I'm different this year than I was last year. We each are. And so not only the Jewish tradition wants not only for us to go through the Torah each year, but for the Torah to go through us, right? For it to change us, to be a part of us, to reflect our own life and all of the ways that we grow and change. And that's true not only for me, but for the Jewish people as a whole. We have grown and changed. We are not the same people who stood at Mount Sinai. One of the last lines of Torah is, there has not risen a prophet since in Israel like Moses, whom the Eternal knew face to face. Since that time, our insights have changed. Perhaps Moses knew God panim el panim, face to face. But we who come after Moses stand on Moses' shoulders with insights and wisdom he never had. As we grow, so does our tree of life. So does our Torah grow. God did not reveal the Torah like a flow of data coming over the internet, flowing from heaven to earth with Moses as a screen taking the data. We do not passively receive God's teachings. We humans are partners in interpreting Torah. There's a joke, and it's actually based on a little larger story that basically says the same thing in the Torah. But in the joke, there's a group of rabbis arguing about some point in Jewish law, and 3 rabbis had one point of view and one had the other point of view. Back and forth the rabbis went, with the leading rabbi saying, the vote is 3-1. And suddenly there's a crash of thunder and a heavenly voice that proclaims, the law is as the single voice teaches, not the 3. And it's God's voice. It's a bat kol from heaven. The rabbis are awestruck. They wait a moment, and then the leading rabbi says, okay, now the vote is 3-2. The Talmud itself teaches that past generations will not always understand the Torah as taught by future generations. The rabbis tell this wonderful midrash, this wonderful story about Moses asking about the decorations on some of the letters of the Torah. And God saying to Moses that one day a great sage by the name of Akiba will heap commentary upon the tittles, on the little marks on the top of the Torah letters. And Moses said, wow, that's cool. I'd really like to meet him. And then there's like, psh, right? It's like a time machine. And Moses all of a sudden finds himself sitting in the back of Rabbi Akiva's Beit Midrash, in the back of Rabbi Akiva's study hall, according to the Midrash. And the Midrash says that Rabbi Akiva's teaching Torah and Moses can't understand anything that's going on. He can't follow the lesson. And Moses starts to kind of grow very faint. And then Akiva says, somebody says, well, Akiva, where did you know this from? And he says, this, my students, is the Torah God gave to Moses at Mount Sinai. And then suddenly Moses feels better. So the rabbis, on one hand, they say Torah is constant, it doesn't change. And the other way, they're cognizant that Moses wouldn't understand Torah that was in Akiva's Beit Midrash. Each generation interprets the Torah to apply it to the real world we live in. The Judaism I teach, the Judaism we practice in this synagogue, is not the same as the Judaism that our great-grandparents practiced in shtetls of Europe. Torah is an eternal conversation between hundreds of generations of the Jewish people. If you look at a page of Talmud, you'll see Rashi's commentary along one side, and on the opposite side are Tosafot, who are Rashi's grandchildren, adding to and arguing with him on the page. And this is a great model for us. We engage with those who came before. We can agree, we can disagree, but what will we add to this eternal conversation? Our job is to interpret God's Torah and teachings and apply them to the real world in which we live. On Yom Kippur, we read in our Torah portion, referring to Torah, Lo bashamayim hi velo ever hayam hi. It is not in heaven, and it is not across the sea. And then it goes on to say that you must go and get it and bring it back. And then it goes on to say, it is in your mouth and it is in your heart. So on this ending of Sukkot and moving on Sunday night into Simchat Torah, we are grateful to all of those in our community who, in the various ways, make Torah possible. Torah in its greatest sense of Jewish life, of learning, of celebration, of community, who bring Torah to our lives through the work of our hands and of our hearts. And on this Simchat Torah, when we dance with Torah, we celebrate not only the words written in the scroll, but all the branches that have sprouted from that tree of life in the generations since, all those branches that give our community such vitality and such life. And we commit to making Torah come alive in our hearts, in our mouths, in our lives, in our community. Shabbat Shalom. I invite Deborah Kummerman to come on up.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm grateful for Sukkot and for the many blessings in my life. I'm also grateful for all the volunteers who work tirelessly to make TBI the thriving Jewish community that it is. So on behalf of the Gratitude Committee, and not all of us were here today, of course, the Gratitude Committee started with Dina Benjamin, who's traveling. Diana Linden is a member of our committee, as is Catherine Karui, who couldn't be here tonight, and Judy Rose, who was back in the back working as she always does. I would like to read this simple original poem titled Thankful, and let you know that if you see a congregant going above and beyond, and you think a note of thanks might be in order, please email me, get my email from the office, with the specifics, and our committee will gladly acknowledge the simcha, which will bring us all joy, and that is what Sukkot is about. Thankful. T is for thankful for all our volunteers. H is for all your help throughout the years. A is for always answering the call. N is for nice. You say it was nothing at all. K is for kind. You did it selflessly. F is for free. You did it freely. U is for unique. Your gifts you uniquely shared. L is for loving. You each showed how much you cared. I'm thankful for each and every one of you who make our community greater because of your involvement. Shabbat Shalom.
Just to get a little bit of a sample, I would like to just, if you volunteered in any way, let's just say in the last year, since last High Holy Days, this High Holy Days, or any time in between. And that could be helping with a program, that could be being an usher, that could be helping to build a sukkah, that could be doing lots of other kinds of things. So just stand up if you volunteered to do something in the last year. It could be participating in one of our services as a reader, as a participant, so I just want people to notice that there's lots of people who volunteer in lots of different ways in our community. And we're just so grateful for all the ways in which we all contribute and make this place what it is. Temple Beth Israel can only even exist, but certainly can only flourish because we are a volunteer-driven organization. And the vitality of who we are is because of all of you. So thank you so, so much, and you can be seated. I'm going to invite Candy Fisher back up to share some announcements.
On behalf of our Board of Trustees, thank you for being here both in person and online. Todah Rabbah to Rabbi Kupitz for a really interesting and meaningful message this evening. And appreciation to Dr. Polavoy for his beautiful musical selection and accompaniment. To Claudia Gonzalez for her technical skill in bringing our service to everyone taking part in our Shabbat service online. Todah Rabbah to Mila Levitin-Shillman for leading us in Shabbat prayers this evening. Thank you to this evening's hosts, part of the volunteer community, who generously donated delicious items for tonight's oneg. Sincere appreciation to Deborah Kummerman, who authored that beautiful poem and organized with Rabbi the leaders in today's service. Thank you to Roz Kane, Lauren Nemeth, Renee Marcus, Michal Shillman, and Laura Zuckerman for participating in this evening's service. And appreciation to this evening's greeters and other volunteers, Judy Rose, Sharon Sachs-Regalato, Kylie Sykes, Vicki Hollander, Debbie Harris, and Jerry Fenning. For those of you present in the sanctuary this evening after services, we will gather in the social hall for Kiddush, motzi, refreshments, and conversation. Please take this time to get to know someone that you don't know, which will help us continue to build our warm Jewish community. We are, as you could tell by all those standing, a very busy and engaged community. I'd like to highlight just a few of those upcoming events. Tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock, Rabbi and Karen Kubitz graciously invite you to their home for Sukkot, Havdalah, and dessert. And if you remember, please bring fruit or a dessert to share. It's fine if you come without, but you are welcome and invited. More details on that are available in our weekly e-blast. Please contact Rabbi Kupitz if you need their address. On Sunday afternoon, October 30th, starting at 2:30, Tammy Schneider and her daughter, Sarah Hamid, who is a practicing doula, will lead us in a lively discussion about women's health issues. Sarah, who's only in her 20s, is also preparing special refreshments for us to enjoy, so be sure to RSVP to Deborah Kummerman if you plan to attend. This coming Wednesday begins an 18-week course in Introduction to Judaism led by Rabbi and Cantor. It's a wonderful course. Please contact the office to sign up if you are interested. Finally, please respond to those in our community who are food insecure by donating as many bags as you possibly can of non-perishables. Please know we only have 10 days left of this year's food drive. Find what interests you in our weekly e-blasts on Monthly Kahila or on the TBI website and the Facebook page. Again, Shabbat Shalom. You're welcome.
So just a couple additional announcements. Our security team has put together, and many of you have been to sessions, these security sessions, and had done them at lots of different times to try to make them available to as many people as possible, to make us a safer community. When we're trained as members of the community, then we can better respond in the event of an emergency. There are a few events coming up. The first one is this Sunday at 3 p.m., and there is still lots of space at 3 p.m. If you haven't yet done a security training and you could be available at 3 p.m. this Sunday, come. You don't have to RSVP since the office isn't open over the weekend. Just show up at 3 p.m. It's really important, and then if that doesn't work, then please look at the upcoming ones if you haven't been there and sign up for one of the other ones. Did you have something you wanted to say, Neil? Tuesday evening and Thursday morning. So those are the other ones that are coming up very soon. Again, the more people who are trained, the safer we are as a TBI community. And these are actually, a lot of it is situational awareness, and it's not, it makes you safer not just at TBI, but out in the world as well. So encourage you to take advantage of that and help to make us a safer community. And then I'll just add one thing, since it's I want to talk about this weekend a few of the things. So I'll add one thing that's already been said, and then two other Simchat Torah pieces. So Deborah mentioned my house Saturday evening. Come. It's lovely. Havdalah will probably be really at about 7:30. We come at 7 o'clock. There's dessert and coffee and snacks and whatever, and then we'll have Havdalah, and people can stay, leave, whatever, as long as they'd like. If you don't know how to get to my house, the office isn't open over the weekend. You don't want to get there, just send an email to me, rabbi@tbipomona.org, or ask somebody who knows where it is, and come. And we'd love to have you. Sunday night, 6 o'clock, pizza dinner, or bring your own dinner if you don't want pizza, out on the lawn. And then 6:45, Simchat Torah service. We'll unroll the Torah scroll around the whole congregation, read from the very end of the book of Deuteronomy, of Devarim, and right at the beginning of Genesis, celebrate our Torah and our connection to the Jewish people on Sunday evening. Monday morning at 10 a.m., we have our first day, we have our last day. We have our Shmini Atzeret Simchat Torah service, that's what I meant to say, and that includes Yizkor memorial prayers, and that's again at 10 a.m. It will be here. Both of those services will also be available. While we really encourage you, if you're able, to come be with us in person, for those who can't be with us in person, they are also both available on Facebook, StreamSpot, and YouTube. So they will be available in those places too for those who, because they can't get here or because of health reasons, can't be in the community. Those are other opportunities, but they're static in the sense that they're not interactive. It's just one-way broadcast of those services. All right. Shabbat Shalom, and we will move now to Misha Berach, to our prayer for healing, which you will find on page 253. Misha Berach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. We ask for blessings upon Rebecca Gilman, Hannah Fields-Austin, Sue Toback, Rosin Lefkowitz, Ellen Weinfeld, Pam Poliakoff, Connie Shapiro, Kathy Blumenfeld, Caitlin Antrim, Jennifer Rudin, Brad Holland, Serena Postal, Bobby Kay, Robert Strober, Marilyn Lubarsky, Ellery Einstein, Patricia Kramer, Joan Morris, Nomi Kravitz, Craig Sachs, Simon Saul, Blair Pollock, Myra White, Lori Snyder, Charity Razaday, Mike Klein, Lily Morrison, Barbara Fass, Joel Beasy, Burton Gershman, David Bush, Howard Bush, Dana Sundin, Lawson Spicer, Mark Fenton, Gloria Foster, Rita Warshaw, Ira Quatcher, Robert Gerard, Stephen Arts, Adele Harris, Brenda Found Gerard, Ron Friedlander, Harvey Sherman, Zach Gross, Jan Marcus, Fred Fable, Steve Sage, Olivia Gross, Don Martins, Marla Fragosa, Cindy Stevens, Eva Laxon. And please, any of you who are thinking of somebody as I come by your row. Sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Page 282, middle of the page, Aleinu L'Shabeach. I invite those who are able to please rise. Aleinu L'Shabeach Adon HaKol La'et Gedula Le'aseh Bereshit Shelo Asanu K'gayei Haratzot Velo Samanu K'mishpechot Adama Shelo Sam Chelkenu Ka'em V'gor Aleinu K'chol Hamonam V'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh Baruch Hu. 287. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz Vayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, U'shemo echad. Page 294. We take a moment to remember those who have been important in our lives and have left this earth, those who have died in recent days or at this time in years past, and we hold them in our hearts. As a community, and for those of you online, please feel free to mention in the chat people that you're thinking about. As a community on this Shabbat, we remember Joan Mouser, sister of Barbara Friedman, Erwin Perlman, uncle of Rita Warshaw and great-uncle of Jack Warshaw, Marion Peniel, friend of many at Temple Beth Israel and teacher for years ago at Atid Hebrew Academy, Carol Berlant. We remember the yortzites of those who have died at this time in years past, Dorothy Goldenstein, Kay Grossman, Abe Mandel, Abraham Spillickstein, Margaret Tompkins, Marta Zamora, Ellen Goldstein, Deborah Schwartz Lamont, Joseph Steinberger, Ron Meyer, Grace Feynman, Morris Goldhammer, Oscar Lawson, Max Shear, Barbara Schoenfeld, Rose B. Weiss, Manly Chester, Samuel R. Eisenberg, Elaine Floyd Fisher, Marvin J. Payan, Abraham Siegel, Carol Title, Lorraine Feinberg, and Gabrielle Silton. If you're remembering somebody on this Shabbat and would like to add their name to one that I've stated or restate a name that I've mentioned, please feel free to do so as I come by your row. If you're in a time of mourning or observing a yortzeit on this Shabbat, I invite you to please rise. And I invite the rest of the congregation, if it's your custom, to rise and embrace in support of those who mourn. Kaddish is on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, b'alma divrach yerute, b'amlich malchute, b'chayachon v'yomechon, b'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam olomei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei du kudusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiram bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabbah min shmaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. zichronam livracha. May their memories always be for a blessing. Invite Laura for you may sit for a moment for closing words, and then we'll close with closing words, and then we'll close.
I'll be very brief, I promise. Thank you all for being here and online to honor our volunteers and to have a very wonderful Sukkot Shabbat. One final acknowledgement of all of you throughout our community who have worked this year. There are 150 plus of our congregants who have done many, many different things, as the rabbi talked about, representing 127 households of our 350 or so households. So that's incredibly phenomenal of what an active congregation you are. You have a lot to be proud of, and we are deeply grateful. Thank you so much.
So now you can stand again. Let's just end. We'll sing through one time, Hebrew, English, Hebrew, Biyado 321. Biyado afkid ruchi, beit ishan ve'ayira, ve'im ruchi geviati. Adonai li velo ira, ve'im ruchi geviati. Adonai li velo ira. My soul I give to you, my spirit in your care. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Hold me in your hand. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Safely in your hand. Biyado afkid ruchi, biyado afkid ruchi. Beit ishan ve'ayira, ve'im ruchi geviati. Adonai li velo ira, ve'im ruchi geviati. Adonai li velo ira. Those of you who are online, thank you so much for being with us. See you soon. For all of you in the sanctuary, join us in the social hall for Kiddush, Motzi, refreshments. Grab a cup of wine or juice from the back there, and then move up toward the front. Shabbat Shalom.